This is a heart.
How did you got these?
Well, so my dad was a professor at the University of Delaware for 50 years, and he taught anatomy and physiology and exercise physiology. And
How did these happen?
well, so the university sent him to Germany to train under another doctor there who does this special plastination process. And so he harvested all these organs and plastinated them.
How did you guys get the heart?
Well, these all came from real people who were alive at one point, and they donated their bodies to science. So my dad was able to harvest these organs.
They died, though?
They died. These were all real people. They were all in people that were up walking around.
So what about the second heart? The first
So
one
the
is
second,
healthy.
this is a healthy heart. This heart is also normal. It's a little bit
Yeah.
inflated, but he used dye to inject red into the arteries and blue into the veins so that you can see where the arteries and the veins are on the heart. This heart had bypass surgery, a single bypass. This one had a triple bypass. So basically, it's kind of like a traffic jam. When there's a traffic jam on the highway and you need to get detoured around, this is the same concept. If you have a blockage, part of your heart dying because it's blocked, they will take a saphenous vein from your leg, and they will run that vein from a healthy part of the heart around to another healthy part of the heart, and they bypass the damaged part, and they tie it back in so that the heart can keep pumping the blood. It just goes in a different
What
way.
happened to these?
So this is a heart where they cut it in half so that you can see what it's supposed to look like on the inside. Normal, yes. When you have a healthy blood pressure, your heart is pumping, which is exercise, but you're not resistance training. You're not fighting against any weight. When you have high blood pressure, it's kind of like resistance training for your heart, but the problem is that your heart has all these open chambers. So as your heart muscle gets bigger because of resistance training from high blood pressure, the muscle gets tighter and more enclosed on itself, and all these open spaces start collapsing in on themselves, so your blood can't get passed through all the parts that it's supposed to, and that makes it harder for your heart to pump, so it's trying harder and harder and harder. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger until you wind up in congestive heart failure, which is where your heart is so big and so enlarged and exhausted and weak that it can't pump anymore.
What happened? What about these?
Well, so let me just tell real quick, this heart is still in a pericardial sac, which is your heart is inside of a sac in your body, and that sac has fluid in it. So it protects the heart, it keeps it bathed in that fluid so it can move and it's not rubbing on anything. So this heart is still in the pericardial sac, otherwise if we had taken it out, it would have looked like that. These lungs are normal, healthy lungs, and this is what your lung tissue should look like on the inside. When you smoke or you vape or you are exposed at work to things that are really toxic, you end up with the toxins and the tars and chemicals getting trapped in the alveoli in your lungs. And eventually the alveoli will start to explode. And when they explode, they can't repair themselves. So you wind up with all these holes. Instead of having this nice, thick, healthy tissue, you wind up with holes. And when people have COPD or emphysema, it's because they've got all these big open holes in their lungs that can't pass oxygen and carbon dioxide anymore. And then they end up not being able to breathe. And you end up having to use oxygen tank because you can't get enough oxygen when you just breathe. And eventually you die because your body can't get enough oxygen.
So what about that?
This is lung cancer. The gold parts are cancer.
How does cancer even come?
Yeah.